I almost let the ceiling crush us. That's the part I don't tell people. They call me a hero now. They say I saved everyone. But the truth is, for half a second I hesitated, and in that half second I saw my son's face. You ever sit across from someone and realize you shouldn't be there? That was me. Rain beating against the windows. Grease in the air. Jessica scrolling her phone like I was background noise. I shouldn't have come. 2 years since my wife left. 2 years of being just dad. Contractor, provider, responsible, boring. Marcus said I needed to live again, so I sat in that cracked vinyl booth at Lena's place, pretending this date meant something. It didn't. Jessica asked about money before she asked about me. She asked about flexibility like my 6-year-old son was a scheduling conflict. When I told her Owen came first, she smiled like I'd admitted a flaw. She left before dessert, didn't even look back, and I remember thinking maybe she was right. Maybe I had disappeared into responsibility. Maybe I wasn't built for anything more than holding things together for everyone else. Then the waitress came back. Lena, quiet, observant, tired eyes but steady hands. She poured me coffee and didn't treat me like I was broken. She just asked, "You okay?" No one had asked me that in a long time. Not really. She said if I wanted company, she'd sit with me after her shift. Real coffee, not the burnt stuff. And for the first time that night, I didn't feel invisible. That's when the ceiling cracked. Not a small sound, a deep wrong sound. And I knew I had 3 seconds. 3 seconds to move. 3 seconds to decide if I stayed frozen like I'd been in life, or if I finally did something that mattered. And in those 3 seconds I looked at Lena, and everything changed. I didn't think. That's the honest truth. The crack above us split wider, and something in my body moved before my brain caught up. I grabbed Lena's arm. Hard. "Move," I said but it came out like a command, not a request. She stumbled into me, confused, and that's when the ceiling dropped. Not gently. It collapsed like it had been waiting years to give up. Wood, metal, plaster, water. It crashed into the booth where I'd been sitting 30 seconds earlier. The table shattered. Glass exploded. Someone screamed. For a second, everything slowed down. You know that feeling? When chaos turns quiet inside your head? I saw the elderly couple in the corner frozen in place. The teenager with headphones just staring. The cook halfway through the kitchen doors. "Everybody out," I yelled. And my voice didn't shake. That surprised me. Lena moved fast after that. Faster than fear. She grabbed the older woman's hand and pulled her toward the exit. I ran to the couple, helped the man to his feet. Water poured through the ceiling like the sky had ripped open. The whole structure groaned. I knew that sound. I build houses for a living. I know when something's about to fail. And that building was failing. We got them outside just before another section came down. The rain hit my face like a slap. Sirens in the distance. People shaking, crying. And Lena, standing beside me, soaked, staring at what used to be her diner. "You saved us," the older woman kept saying. I didn't answer, because here's what no one knew. I hadn't just saved them. I'd saved Lena. And when I looked at her in that parking lot, hair plastered to her face, jaw set, eyes burning, I felt something I hadn't felt in 2 years. Not pride. Not adrenaline. Purpose. Then a black Audi pulled into the lot, and the man who stepped out wasn't there to check if we were alive. He was there to see if the building was finally dead. I knew he was trouble the second he smiled. Not the friendly kind, the satisfied kind. Like he'd been waiting for this moment. He stepped out of that black Audi like the rain owed him respect. Perfect coat, perfect shoes, perfect timing. "Lena Moore," he said smoothly. "What a tragedy." She didn't answer right away. Her shoulders straightened instead. That told me everything. "Caleb Rowe," she said flatly. "What are you doing here?" He glanced at the wreckage behind us like it was a cracked sidewalk, not someone's life. I heard the emergency dispatch, thought I'd check on my investment. Investment. That word landed wrong. I stepped closer without meaning to. He continued like we weren't even there. "The structure's compromised. Repairs will cost more than it's worth. You know that." Lena's jaw tightened. "It can be fixed." "Be realistic," he replied. "Sell it to me. I'll handle the mess. You walk away clean." Clean, like this was dirt on her shoe. I looked at her then. She was shaking, not from cold, from fury. "This place fed people for 37 years, she said quietly. "It matters." Caleb gave a soft laugh. "Condos matter more." That's when something shifted inside me. I didn't know her. I didn't know her. But the way he talked about her dream like it was disposable, I felt it in my chest. "You're circling like a vulture," I said before I could stop myself. His eyes slid to me. "And you are?" "Someone who knows structural failure," I said evenly. "That roof didn't collapse overnight. That took years." His smile flickered. Interesting. Very interesting. You don't have the money to fix this, he said calmly to Lena. And the bank won't wait forever. The way he said it, like he already knew the ending, like he'd written it. Lena looked at me then, not asking for rescue, just bracing for loss, and I heard myself ask a question I had no right asking. How much do you owe? Because in that moment it stopped being her fight. It became ours. She looked at me like I'd just stepped over a line. How much do you owe? I repeated, softer this time. Caleb smirked. Careful, contractor. You don't want to know numbers like that. 42,000 on the loan, Lena said anyway. Her voice didn't shake. 8,000 in back taxes. A few liens. And now, repairs. The rain hit harder. 42,000. That number echoed in my head next to another one. 18,000. That's what I had saved. 2 years of overtime, side jobs, saying no to everything that wasn't essential. College fund security, Owen's future. Caleb checked his watch like we were wasting his time. You have 30 days once the foreclosure notice hits. You won't make it. 30 days. He got back in his Audi and drove off like he'd already won. And Lena just stood there, staring at the diner like it was a wounded animal she couldn't save. I can't lose it, she whispered. Not dramatic, not loud, just honest. That did something to me. Because I know what it feels like to lose something you built your whole world around. My marriage, the version of myself I used to be. And suddenly, I wasn't thinking about Jessica, or the date, or how alone I'd felt an hour ago. I was thinking about 3 seconds under a collapsing ceiling. About purpose. About what kind of man my son would see if I walked away right now. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay, what? Okay, we fight. Her eyebrows furrowed. Ryan, you don't even know me. You offered me coffee when I was invisible, I said. That's enough for tonight. She almost smiled. Almost. This isn't charity, she warned. If you help, you get equity. Real partnership. The word partnership hit different. Not rescue, not pity. Equal. I nodded. Deal. And as we shook hands in that rain-soaked parking lot, I realized something terrifying. I wasn't helping her because I had the money. I was helping her because I couldn't stand the idea of watching her give up. I didn't sleep that night. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Ironic, right? Running numbers until they stopped making sense. 18,000 in savings, 42,000 owed, 30 days, and a 6-year-old boy sleeping down the hall who trusted me to make good decisions. That was the part that twisted inside me. Was I being brave or reckless? At 6:30 the next morning, I was back in that parking lot. The diner looked worse in daylight. Yellow tape, red tag on the door, windows cracked like broken promises. Lena was already there, hair pulled back, no makeup, dark circles under her eyes. You came, she said like she hadn't been sure I would. I said I would. She studied me for a second, like she was trying to see if I'd changed my mind overnight. Part of me had tried to. Part of me had imagined texting her. Sorry, I can't risk it. But I didn't. We walked inside together. The place smelled like wet drywall and old dreams. The ceiling was gone in sections, exposing beams that looked tired and splintered. I switched into contractor mode automatically. Roof failure started in the northwest corner, I muttered, scanning. Water pooled. Strukturalsag, it's repairable. She watched me like I was translating a language she'd never understood. Be honest, she said. Is it worth saving? I looked at her, not the building. Her. And I realized that wasn't just about money anymore. It's worth fighting for, I said carefully. Her throat moved like she was swallowing something heavy. Then she handed me a printed document. Foreclosure notice. 30 days from today. The clock had started, and just as I was about to say something reassuring, my phone buzzed. Owen's asleep, my mom had texted the night before. Now it was Marcus. Where the hell are you? Job site's waiting, reality crashing back in. I had a crew depending on me, a son depending on me, and now a woman standing in a collapsing diner depending on me. I exhaled slowly. This wasn't just about fixing a roof anymore. It was about deciding what kind of life I was building. By the third day, exhaustion stopped feeling temporary. It became part of me. I'd work 10 hours on my regular sites, then head to the diner until midnight, measure, tear out, plan, call suppliers, beg for discounts, then drive home and stand in Owen's doorway watching him sleep, wondering if I was making the worst mistake of my life. The fundraiser had started. Tommy's wife put it up without asking me. Single dad saves local diner, the headline read. I hated that. It made it sound heroic. It wasn't heroic. It was messy and terrifying and way too close to financial suicide. But the number kept climbing. 10,000. 15. 20. People remembered Lena's place. First dates, late-night coffee, study sessions, grief shared over pie. And every comment said the same thing: don't let it disappear. That's when I started noticing her differently, not just as someone I was helping, but as someone who didn't quit. She'd show up at 6 a.m. with coffee for the crew, stay until midnight sanding drywall with paint in her hair. She never once asked me how much I was risking. She just worked beside me, and sometimes, when we'd both lean against the counter, too tired to speak, our shoulders would brush. Small things. Electric. One night she caught me staring. "What?" she asked. "You're stubborn," I said. She smiled. "You have no idea." There was something soft behind that smile, something careful, and I realized we were both afraid of the same thing: not losing the building, losing the fight. Because if this failed, it wouldn't just be money gone, it would be belief. Then came the call from the abatement contractor. "Asbestos in the ductwork," he said. "Another $4,000. I closed my eyes. 4,000 I didn't have. 4,000 that would push us over the edge. I thought about walking away. I thought about telling Lena we'd done enough. Instead, I called my mother. I never wanted to ask my mom for money again. After Kelsey left, I'd leaned on her too much already. Childcare, dinners, emotional cleanup. But that night, sitting in my truck outside the diner, I swallowed my pride. "Mom, I need help." There was silence on the other end. Not judgment, just listening. "How much?" she asked. 4,000. Another pause. "That diner?" she guessed. "Yeah." She sighed softly, not disappointed, just understanding. "I don't have cash," she said, "but I can take out a small loan. My credit's better than yours." Guilt hit me hard. "I'll pay you back." "I know you will," she replied. "Ryan, just promise me something." "What?" "If this fails, you don't let it break you. Owen needs a father who can lose and still stand up." That stuck with me. Lose and still stand up. I promised. The money came through. The asbestos got cleared. The building was finally safe. But safe doesn't mean finished. We had 19 days left. 19 days to rebuild everything. That's when the real war started. My crew showed up before sunrise. Marcus, Tommy, Derek, even Hork the electrician agreed to weekend rates. We worked like men possessed. 16-hour days, drywall dust in our lungs, coffee replacing sleep. Lena never left. She learned how to tape seams, how to hold a drill, how to read inspection codes. One night around 1 a.m., I found her sitting alone on the counter, staring at the new ceiling. "You okay?" I asked. She nodded, then shook her head. "I'm scared to hope," she admitted. "What if we do all this and still lose?" I sat beside her, close enough to feel her warmth through the cold air. "Then we lose knowing we fought," I said quietly. "That's different than giving up." She looked at me like I'd handed her something fragile. "Why do you believe that so much?" she asked. "'Cause if I didn't, then everything I was teaching my son would be a lie." I didn't say that out loud. Instead, I said something truer. Because I don't want to live small anymore. And in that quiet, unfinished diner, her hand brushed mine. Neither of us moved away. The inspection almost broke me. 19 days of work. 19 days of running on fumes and faith. And it all came down to one man with a clipboard. Gerald Hutchkins walked in at 9 a.m. sharp. No smile, no small talk. Just slow steps and sharp eyes. I stood behind him while he tested every outlet. Every pipe, every beam we'd reinforced. Lena's hand found mine without looking. Cold fingers. Tight grip. The crew waited outside like we were in surgery. One failure, one missed code, and we'd be done. Gerald stopped at the electrical panel. Silence. Then the plumbing. More silence. He checked the new ceiling supports I'd installed myself. Measured twice. Looked at me once. "You did this in 19 days?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "That's either impressive or reckless." "Probably both," I admitted. He kept walking. Time stretched thin. Finally, he closed his clipboard. "All critical violations cleared," he said. For a second, I didn't breathe. Lena did. She sobbed. "Certificate of occupancy." Just like that. The red tag came off. We'd rebuilt the building. But we hadn't won yet. The bank appointment was at 11. We had the money for the loan. Barely. Fundraiser plus savings. But taxes and liens were still hanging over us. Caleb was already there when we walked into the conference room. Sitting like he owned the air. "Impressive repairs," he said smoothly. "But this is business." The loan officer started reading terms. Interest rate increase. Escrow requirements. Quarterly reports. Caleb interrupted. "The prudent choice is foreclosure," he said. "High-risk borrower." I felt anger rise in my throat, but I kept my voice steady. "The contract requires cure upon full loan payment," I said. "We have it." The senior VP came in, reviewed the documents. looked at the certificate, looked at the proof of repairs, then said the words I didn't dare believe. "We'll accept the cure." Caleb stood, cold, controlled. "You bought time," he said. "That's all." "Maybe." But when Lena squeezed my hand under that table, time felt like everything. When we walked out of that bank, I didn't feel like a hero. I felt empty, drained. Like every ounce of adrenaline I'd been running on for 3 weeks had finally burned out. Then Lena turned to me, and she laughed. Not polite, not careful. Real laughter, shaky and disbelieving. "We did it," she whispered. We stood on that sidewalk in the middle of downtown traffic, and she threw her arms around me, and I held her, not because we'd won, but because for the first time in a long time, I wasn't carrying something alone. Back at the diner, the crew was waiting. When I nodded, Marcus let out a yell that probably scared 3 counties. Hugs, pizza, cheap champagne. People who weren't related by blood but felt like family. I watched Lena move through it all, thanking everyone, smiling, touching shoulders. Alive. Later, when it was quiet again, she found me sitting in the booth where everything had started. "The roof's fixed," she said softly. "Yeah. So, what now?" That question hit different, because saving the building was one thing. What came after was something else. I looked at her. No drywall dust in her hair now, no panic in her eyes. Just warmth. "I'd still like that coffee," I said. "The one you promised." She smiled. "The real kind?" "The real kind." We stood in the new kitchen, just the 2 of us. She made it slow. Careful, like it mattered. We sat at the counter, drinking in silence at first. Then talking, not about permits, not about debt, about her aunt, about my dad, about Owen, about what it feels like to almost lose something that defines you. And somewhere between the second cup and her quiet laugh, I realized this had stopped being about rescue a long time ago. It had become about partnership, about building something together. And just when I thought maybe life had finally steadied, the diner door opened, and Caleb Rowe walked in. When Caleb walked in, the whole diner went quiet. You could feel it. Forks paused midair, coffee cups hovering, every eye tracking him. He didn't look angry. He looked curious, like he wanted to see what survival looked like up close. Lena didn't hesitate. She grabbed her order pad and met him at the counter. "What can I get you?" she asked. Her voice was steady, stronger than I'd ever heard it. "Coffee," he said. "Black." She poured it. Didn't spill a drop. Didn't look away. $3. He left exact change on the counter. No speech, no threats, just a long look around the packed diner. Families laughing. Truck drivers eating. Owen coloring in the corner booth. Then he nodded once. "You proved me wrong," he said quietly. "No," Lena replied. "We proved you wrong." And he left. That was it. No fireworks, no dramatic victory music. Just a door closing behind a man who'd finally lost control of the narrative. Later, when the rush slowed and the sunlight softened through the windows, Lena slid into the booth across from me. The same booth, but everything felt different now. "We saved it," she said. "Yeah. And you didn't lose everything." I smiled. "Depends how you look at it." She tilted her head. "I lost the version of me that plays it safe," I admitted. "The one who only survives, not builds." She reached across the table and took my hand. Slow, intentional, not dramatic, just certain. "I'm glad," she said softly, because somewhere between falling ceilings and foreclosure deadlines, I'd stopped feeling invisible, stopped living small, stopped thinking my life was only about holding things together. I looked over at Owen laughing with the cook. Then back at her. "This only works," I said quietly, "if we keep choosing it. The diner, us, all of it." Her thumb brushed across my knuckles. "I'm not afraid to build anymore," she whispered. And for the first time in years, neither was I.